now, about a minute gone by, round 2. Oh! Justin Gaethje!
It's right there.
Oh, nice elbow.
Ahora que intentaron
Flying knees, spinning back fists, powerful overhands, and vicious elbows were just a few of the deadliest arsenals used this year to knock the opposition out into oblivion. It's time to revisit the most brutal KOs of 2023, a year that was not shy about delivering some of the most incredible highlight reels for the ages. And if you guys enjoy this video, please subscribe and be the force behind our push to 1,000 subscribers. Let's do this! Robbie Lawler versus Nico Price. In his last UFC fight, the legend of the sport, Robbie Lawler, did not want to leave the sport without a brawl and was eager to show that against Nico Price. He went out there like he had nothing to lose and launched torpedoes from the clinch that shut Nico's lights off instantly. Max Holloway versus the Korean Zombie. Chun Chan-sung did not ask for the nickname he got. He earned it by showcasing an incredible ability to absorb punishment and keep coming back, no matter what. He's affectionately known as the Korean Zombie because of his remarkable ability to keep pushing forward and fight with incredible determination even when faced with brutal hits. When he fought Max Holloway, the Hawaiian proved to be quite the Rick Grimes of MMA, having the right tool to stop the zombie from charging forward. After a heated exchange of ballistic missiles, Holloway unleashed an overright hand from hell that returned the zombie to the dead. Ismael Bonfim versus Terrence McKinney. McKinney decided to implement the Adesanya strategy and be the counter-striker in the match against Ismael Bonfim. On the other hand, the Brazilian followed him like a predator and was ready to strike. He stalked his prey to an ambush and pulled the trigger, delivering a TNT knee that sent McKinney to the shadow realm. Tom Aspinall versus Marcin Tybura. The Englishman was out for a year to a gruesome knee injury he suffered in the previous fight. It was time to remind everyone that he boxes like a sniper and kicks like a mule. They stood in the center of the octagon, exchanging heavy artillery of fire. However, Tom's gun turned out to be bigger, as he unloaded a brutal elbow followed by a textbook boxing combo that sent the fellow heavyweight helpless to the canvas. Bo Nickal versus Val Woodburn. Bo Nickal is one of the brightest UFC stars today, all thanks to his wrestling credentials and grappling superiority. However, his wrestling is only one fragment of the opponent's concerns, and he showed that in the fight against Val Woodburn. In a fight where most people believed Bo Nickal would seek refuge on the canvas, he decided to stand and bang against a dangerous slugger, and, well, it turned out to be the right decision, considering that Woodburn was the one who was frozen like Elsa in the end. Justin Gaethje versus Dustin Poirier. These two already fought 5 years ago, and their paths crossed again to settle the score. In the first bout, Dustin Poirier had the last laugh, as he successfully mauled Gaethje before knocking him out in the fourth. The highlight had a different approach in this fight and implemented a cautious approach to avoid a similar scenario to the first time they met. After a competitive first round, Gaethje utilized a very unorthodox tactic that is almost impossible to predict, the same side combo. He threw a right hand followed by a high kick, sending Dustin Poirier to the land of darkness. You know what they say, revenge is best served cold. Roman Kopilov versus Claudio Ribeiro. Speaking of head kicks, Roman Kopilov is a renowned striker who is not keen to leave it to the judges' hands. When he fought Claudio Ribeiro, the Russian had no plans to take prisoners, so he crow-copped Ribeiro to oblivion. Aljamain Sterling versus Sean O'Malley. Aljo is the kind of fighter you don't want to be attached to your back, as he would squeeze the life out of you like a python. Sean O'Malley was aware of this, and just like Chael Sonnen and Wanderlei Silva's situation, he could not let him get close. Sterling is also a good striker, and he decided to play Russian roulette with the guy who possesses a one-punch knockout power. As he went for an offensive, O'Malley countered it with a powerful right that momentarily sent Aljo kissing the canvas. Sugar had to pound some nails before the referee jumped in to save Aljo from paying for additional medical bills. Islam Makhachev versus Alexander Volkanovski. When these two UFC royals fought first, Alexander Volkanovski thought that he saw some holes in Makhachev's game that he wanted to expose. Having a full training camp against Makhachev can hardly be called a salvation, and Volk accepted this bout on 10 days' notice. This time, the Russian was eager to seal the deal legally, where no judges would be needed. While everyone is too focused on Islam's takedowns, they forget that he is also an elite striker with immense power in his shots. The Russian once again showed that his striking was as deadly as an AK-47 rifle shot, as he activated the nuclear button to cut Volk's brakes all at once. This was Alexander Volkanovski's first loss in the UFC via knockout, and his only 2 losses in the organization are caused by the same man, Islam Makhachev. Waldo Cortes versus Lukasz Brzezinski. Turning your back to an opponent in the octagon is never a good idea. However, when Waldo Cortes launched a rocket at Lukasz Brzezinski's head, the Polish fighter not only turned his back, but he even looked like he was trying to leave the octagon early that night. After delivering a few more follow-up shots, he finally put the opponent out of his misery. Jim Miller versus Jesse Butler. An old lion is still a lion. If history has taught us anything, it is that we should never count out a seasoned veteran like Jim Miller. In the fight against Jesse Butler, Miller delivered a few bombs to the head, leaving the opponent hanging against the cage. No follow-up shots were needed. His spirit had already left the body. Manuel Torres versus Nicolas Mota. Manuel Torres is the kind of person who listens to Dana White when he says that you should never leave it to the judges. Of his 14 professional victories, only 1 of them went on the distance, and the bout against Nicolas Mota was not another exception. Why hit the opponent with a punch, which is kind of soft, when you could shut his lights off with an elbow? By landing one of the most vicious elbows in UFC history, Manuel Torres issued Mota a one-way ticket straight to the Dead Sea, as no additional ground and pound shots were required. He was already gone. Israel Adesanya versus Alex Pereira. These two have quite a history. They had already fought 2 times in kickboxing and once in MMA, and Pereira always had the hands raised in the end. The stakes for Adesanya were high, and losing another fight against his bitter enemy was not an option. The Brazilian wanted to replicate the outcome of their first MMA matchup and went after Adesanya without a bulletproof vest and a helmet. This time, the former champ was ready and knew how to react. He threw a powerful right over the hand, catching the opponent clean. Alex was wobbled, and before regaining composure, Adesanya hit him with another right that sent him straight to the Shadow Realm. Dricus du Plessis versus Robert Whittaker. Speaking of the middleweight division, this UFC category is full of killers who can knock each other out at any given moment. Such was the case between Dricus du Plessis and Robert Whittaker. The South African was a big underdog for a reason. Whittaker is one of the most well-rounded fighters in the UFC, and he's been a top contender for years. If it weren't for Israel Adesanya, he would have been the man. However, when Dricus du Plessis launched the assault, Robert regretted not taking his helmet into the octagon. This spectacular finish launched Dricus' name straight to the title picture, and he will next face Sean Strickland for the undisputed UFC title. Carlos Diego Ferreira versus Michael Johnson. Once upon a time, Michael Johnson was a dangerous striker who was even able to stop an elite competitor like Dustin Poirier, and, of course, to edge on the judges' scores, the GOAT of MMA, Artem Lobov. However, Josh Emmett did something to him that Carlos Diego Ferreira took as an example. He launched the Sar Bomba that landed clean and sent Justin straight to La La Land. Benoit Saint-Denis versus Matt Frevola. Let's first thank these 2 warriors for their sacrifice and service to their countries. Matt Frevola is a lieutenant in the United States Army Reserve. Benoit Saint-Denis served in the 1st Marine Infantry Paratroopers Regiment, a French Army Specialist Forces command unit. This was a bout between 2 trained killers who'd seen worse than getting KO'd in the octagon. In this clash, Saint-Denis was the one who had the last laugh, as he caught Frevola with a vicious high kick, forcing the referee to wave the fight off. Edson Barboza versus Billy Quarantillo. If we analyze Edson Barboza's fights, he probably deserves a video on its own about the highlight reels that he enriched the MMA world with. The battle against Billy Quarantillo was not any different. Billy should have done his homework and learned that Barboza's knee is as deadly as a sniper shot. The moment of realization came late, as Edson introduced him to his knee in the 1st round, which made him embrace the canvas instantly. And do you guys agree with our selection? Which 2023 KO is your favorite? Share your thoughts in the comments, smash that like button, and subscribe to help us reach 1,000 subscribers and keep the excitement going in the octagon.